I got into photography 24 years ago through my pop. He was the staff photographer at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and now he's the staff photographer at Morehouse College. So it was in my blood from day one. As a child, we always had a dark room in the house, but I paid it no mind until I got to Clark my freshman year. And I met this cat named Dre, and I was just like blown away because he had all these dope pictures on his wall, and I was like, wow, this ain't the stuff my pops be shooting. You know what I mean? And so we became fast friends, and you know, we would go out and shoot together. He truly inspired me from his eye and his style of shooting. Yo, so let me tell you about the early Lil Yachty, aka Miles, my son. I've been shooting him since birth. With that being said, he became super comfortable in front of the camera. I basically would almost photograph him every week, every other day. So I have a lifetime series of photos on him, and this is just one of my favorites that I printed, and it was shot at the crib in my little home studio. It wasn't really, honestly, until Outkast came out, man. And I had met Big Boy at Lenox. He was a senior in high school, and he put me in touch with Rico Wade. And Rico would let me come over to the dungeon, which at the time was the house off Cascade on Adams. And I would just sit over there and just be a fly on the wall while the dudes was recording, and everybody from Goody Mob to Future being there, you know. I don't think he was recording or anything, but I just remember him being around a lot. And I'll never forget, Rico Wade is the first person that told the source of XXL that we got a photographer in Atlanta, because they were flying photographers down, you know, for assignments. You know, they wasn't really messing with nobody from Atlanta as far as shooting. So that's what my interest peaked. You know, I knew I couldn't rap, I knew I couldn't sing, I knew I couldn't play an instrument, but I always looked at the camera as being my instrument. You know, it was my way of contributing to the music scene. I had this shoot with Erica. Actually, it was Stick from Dead Prayer's wife that was doing a crochet book, and these crochet earrings Erica's wearing. Instead of going out to shoot, she invited me to her hotel. This actually is in the hallway of her hotel on the floor. And I said, Erica, you mind laying down? She's like, you want me to lay down? You know, I was like, yeah, I want you to lay down. So I said, I'll lay down with you. So I laid down, that's why the shot is eye level. I was only supposed to get about 10 minutes with her, and I ended up getting like 2 hours with her. Just really got it in, really got some dope work, and this was one of my favorites. You know, the first person that took me out was Pastor Troy. Matter of fact, I got a funny story. Universal, he was getting ready to shoot his album cover, I don't remember which cover it was. They were flying Jonathan Mannion in to shoot that. And they were adamant about, you know, because Jonathan Mannion, he, especially in the 90s and the early 2000s, he was huge. But, you know, Troy believed in me, and he was like, man, you shoot my cover. And he said, they paying Jonathan Mannion $20,000. I said, what? 20 G's, hold up. He said, you beat that price and you got it. So I said, 15, you know? And he's like, tell him. And so I was like, I need 15, you know? And they gave me 15, and I was like, shit. So yo, this shot of Lil Wayne was at a Lloyd video shoot featuring Lil Wayne. This is between takes, and he was just, and Wayne was just having a moment to himself. I just loved how the camera was in front of him, and he was just kind of having a moment. And as soon as they said action, he jumped up and he went right into being Wayne. But it just spoke to me. It made me feel like you knew it was a video shoot. You know, you knew Wayne around this time. His locks are not that long. His face ain't tatted. You know, it's a young Wayne. But I really like this one by himself, just having a pensive moment to himself. Things start bubbling for me, and it's crazy. I got a call from the source. We need you to shoot Lil Jon for this ad, something that was going in the source, or a story or something. So the dude said, yo, I'll be in Atlanta, meet me over at Stankonia. He said, you know what that is? I was like, come on, man, I'm from the A, you know, don't ask me that, you know. So I meet the dude over at Stankonia, and he was like, well, Lil Jon's gonna be here in a little while, and you know, I just wanna introduce you guys, don't bother him. You know, like, I don't know what's happening. So I didn't say nothing to him, but I went to high school with Lil Jon. You know, he went to Doug. So when he walked in, he walked right past the dude, like, you know, okay, whatever. And he just dapped me up. I was like, yo, what you doing here? I was like, I'm the one shooting you tomorrow. And he was just like, what? The dude was tripping because Jon rocked with me out the gate. So I got on this comedy get down tour from working with Mike Epps. I used to be out with Mike Epps for about 3 years. And George Lopez had this idea that he wanted to build a statue for Richard Pryor in Peoria, Illinois. And he called all these guys together that he thought could, donate some money and they'll do a free show in Illinois and raise this money and build a statue. And while they were all there, they had such a great night that night. He said, what if we turn this into a tour? And that was 1.5 years ago, and we've been out, 1.5 years, and I shot this in LA. This was a big show for them at the Forum, and they all signed it for me. And it's crazy because I actually printed 5 of these for them, and I brought it to one of the shows, just like a thank you, And George took it, got it framed, and he texted me one day and he said, what's your address? I want to send you something. And a week later, I got FedEx at my door, and I had a big frame print, so he got it framed for me. Yo, this is Shannon McCollum. Thank you for coming by the crib, checking out my little collection, HIP-HOPWIRED.